Good evening, everybody. Welcome out to Monday Night Discipleship. I'm Jason. This is a ministry of the Door Christian Fellowship here in the wonderful, beautiful, lovely city of Colton, the hub of the Inland Empire, and the lakefront property for the Santa Ana River. Thank you for showing up. We have a very special show tonight. Sitting across from me here in my humble abode is my pastor, Pastor Eric Strutz, who's been my pastor since 1985 in December, and he doesn't regret a minute of it. So thank you very much, Pastor, for coming in here and talking with us.
Thank you.
Thanks for giving us the thumbs up to do this and your blessing on this thing. It's been a big hit with some of the men and a lot of people around the fellowship liking it, and it's been a good time. It's been a good time. Always, I kind of got jealous of the sisters and their little Zoom meetings and stuff they're having afterwards. I'm thinking, maybe get something like this for the guys, you know. And so people have been pitching in, showing up, and it's starting to grow. So that's a good thing. So we all pretty much know who you are. Everyone tuning in has probably seen you either at a conference or every time they go to church. But if you could, if there's anyone that sees this recording later on down the line or is not familiar, go ahead and give us the quick history of your ministry, if you wouldn't mind.
Good evening. I'm Eric Strutz, and I've, as Jason said, I've been here since December of 1985. When I got here, I was the new kid on the block. Today, I'm the longest standing pastor in California. I have raised my kids here. I'm watching my grandkids now and have made a home in California, of all places. It was very interesting because when we first got saved, California wasn't on our mind. We had no interest in California whatsoever, and here I am years later in California, still in California, and looking forward to what the future holds. I got saved in January of 1976, so almost 45 years ago. I got saved on a Tuesday night. I got saved as Pastor Mitchell preached a prophecy conference in Tucson for the first time, and he had just been to Israel the month before, and that piqued his interest in a lot of areas, including prophecy. And I went on a Tuesday night, and he showed slides. I know you may not know what slides are. It's been upgraded. It's called PowerPoint, but anyway, he showed slides of various historical landmarks and features of Israel and Jerusalem, and related all that he saw to Bible prophecy and the rapture and subsequent second coming. And so, having been a history buff and having understood a little bit, at least, about Israel and the Jewish people, it piqued my interest, helped me connect the dots, and subsequently I answered the altar call that night and have been saved ever since. And I was in the church for 4 years, and then I went on staff with Pastor Warner for 3.5 years. Then my wife and I went to Rochester, New York, to pioneer a church there, which is still there to this day, and came back for 1 year to help the church as they had lost their building and were in a building project setting, and Pastor Warner was battling various health issues. And so once the church opened December 1st, 1985, our farewell was on the 4th, and we took the church here on the 8th of December, and we've been here ever since. And so I appreciate the opportunity given me, and I appreciate the congregation and the people that I minister to. I'm very, very grateful. I have a great group of people, and we are currently navigating through the COVID-19 virus limitations. And I think we've been very, very fortunate because our parking lot is in the back of the building, so we can basically have church in the parking lot, and that's been working out. And very well attended in addition to the live stream. And so overall, God's really helped us. We've learned a lot of ways of doing things in the realm of social media. And so this is one example of a number of things we've learned and we've been able to facilitate in getting the gospel to precious people. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, we appreciate you being here and for all you've done. I can say over the years, you blessed my life and life of a lot of men in the church. I wrote in my description that you've been preaching, discipling men to become pastors, evangelists, but also to be good, to become good husbands and good fathers. And you led by exampleship, and a lot of us can contribute our success in these things, just basically to your teaching, you're an example. So thank you very much. One thing that you do also is you're on the High Council or something, right, of boot camp, enlisted to endure, right?
Yeah, in fact, it was supposed to start today.
Mm-hmm.
And I thoroughly enjoyed boot camp. I've been involved since I think 2009, and it's been a great blessing for me to participate and to be part of the administration of the camp, in addition to the various events and the preaching and the ministering to young people. And it's a very rewarding experience to see these young people change. I mean, total transformations in 1 week. It's an incredible event, and the response keeps you coming back year after year after year.
Yeah, it does. And I've been blessed and touched by the boot camp as well. I think actually you're the third person in a row we've had on this show that is directly related with boot camp. We had Gabe Ruby a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. We had Pastor Eric Long here, who also is a musician and in charge of the Capture the Flag, and now we have you here. It's just something that's on our hearts and on our minds this week, and the weeks to follow is the boot camp. Where if it wasn't for the COVID, we would all be like heading up the mountain probably right now.
Yep.
To set up camp for the night, to lay claim on our bunks and different things. And if you're one of the kids, one of the newbie counselors, you'd be back at the church trying to put a place for your sleeping bag and stuff and getting ready for the night. There's some awesome chaperoning time, but sadly this year we can't do it. So I'm glad we had some boot camp staff the last 3 shows here to hopefully get us back in the mood for that kind of thing. Boot camp, since we're on that topic real quick, I'm going to shout out for enlisted2endure.com. The link is in the description. Also in the description is a link to a playlist for a bunch of boot and counselor and DI testimonies about boot camp. They would like you, I think Gabe put it out there, if you want to send them a quick testimony video for that channel. You can, I think it's a WhatsApp app, if you guys number, we can work that out later, but take a testimony of yourself with your smartphone and send it into them, encouraging people to sign up for Boot Camp 2021. At this point, we're going to go for it, and it's going to be done, so we're looking forward to that opportunity. But if you have any questions, visit www.enlisted2endure.org. Link is in the description. And you can see what it takes to sign up and be part of that there. And there's also a link for those playlists for those videos. And as they come in, you get to see the different people testify of what they've seen, what they've done, and what's coming up. So that's great. So you mentioned our church and the COVID crisis. Okay. The the lockdown, basically. So we had been always, kind of ragging on internet church and ragging on people that, get up in their pajamas and watch their favorite sermons or whatever. And like for 2 weeks, at least 2 weeks, we had to do that. We had to be online.
Actually, it was 6 weeks.
Right, 6 weeks. 6 weeks. We got to the point where...
No, 2.5 months.
2.5 months?
2.5 months, we either live streamed or we re-recorded. And so there was a period of time, because we didn't have any we didn't have any upload speed at our church, so we did it in my living room, and we did it live, and then we finally upgraded at the church so that we had the right speed, and that we had to make a couple of purchases as far as equipment, and then we pre-recorded. So on Saturday night I would do a double header so that we had sermons for Sunday, and then once we were able to learn how to live stream, we would do Sunday morning live, and then I would preach Sunday evening service right after that, so they could that would be pre-recorded, because there is a little bit of time needed to put it up on YouTube. And so all these things we had to learn and navigate through, and so it's a blessing that we can kind of do both right now, because not everybody can come to church. We've had people that have had to self-quarantine and isolate themselves because of things at work or with their family, and so we can live stream. In addition to that, we can still have church in the back parking lot, and it's been working out very well.
Yeah, great. It's been a test and a trial. You get to see.
Well, there's new tricks. There's no such thing as a static existence, and you're always learning new tricks and new ways of doing things. And like it or not, agree or disagree, social media is a means of communicating with friends and family and with the public. It wasn't really a prominent thing a few years ago. And so it's front and center right now. And so students are getting their education that way. And I've been part of several Zoom meetings, and so and we put our church services out there that way. So it's become a way of life.
Yeah, it's a lot different now. I mean, what was it like preaching to basically an empty building?
It's not fun.
No?
It's necessary. Don't get me wrong, but it's always I always like to work off of the response that I hear from the congregation, and you kind of get a feel. Yeah, okay, you're making contact. They're getting it. They're excited, or it's going over their head. It's not making any sense. So you get feedback, and so without that, it can be a challenge.
Yeah, I think I've never had to do it, but I'm just like you. I like to look at faces, like to gauge a response. There's always a crowd dynamic, like your words bounce back to you off of other people, and you can kind of tell if you're hitting home or if it's it's crawling off the altar and dying, So, but it's been a good challenge. It's I like the flexibility because of my schedule. Sometimes I'm really late to a church, but I can listen to it on the way home from work or different things and that. But there's nothing like the real thing, like being there, being involved. And for the most part, what I've seen actually is a lot of crowds for our outdoor services, like some pretty decent crowds.
Yeah, it's been the response has been very, very good and very encouraging.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a way to get things done, like you said. Being static just kind of just means that you're just dead.
Yeah.
Like you never do anything, don't have to change nothing, not to move around. So, I think maybe a lot of people's idea about Christianity is being solid as a rock, immovable, etc. But some of this is kind of like that Bruce Lee philosophy, being like water. Be able to fit into a certain any mold, or be able to move, be powerful when you're moving, be solid when you're standing, and just kind of being able to do these kind of things. So it's a good thing. So we didn't have you here just to talk about live streaming and all this other stuff. So our pastor has prepared for us a teaching from the Bible, a gospel cornucopia of gospel food to help us out here. Now, he only gave me the title, right? He only gave me the title, and he gave me a couple scriptures, so we're just going to let Pastor Strutz open up our eyes and help us out with some insight this evening.
Well, I've had this article for a year, and I was shocked when I read it. And it's very brief. It's a poll conducted of young people, and it says a new poll out of the United Kingdom reveals that a staggering 89% of young people between the ages of 18 and 29 feel that their lives are meaningless and without purpose. 30% of youngsters complain of being stuck in a rut. 84% say that they're failing to live their best life. And it's very interesting that is a prevailing feeling among young people. I'm not young. And I am certainly not someone that is living life without meaning or without purpose. But I recognize that is an issue today. And I'm finding more and more youngsters between the ages of 18 and 29 find no meaning and no purpose. I'm a trained engineer. In fact, I was telling the church last night, I graduated 50 years ago from college with a degree in mechanical engineering. I was driven. I had a goal. I had a purpose. I had a number of setbacks. One is that during my junior and senior year in college, I had 66 job interviews and walked away with no job. Ultimately, I would find the job that would set me on my career path. But I was determined. I truly felt, and I'm not a Christian, I have no spiritual background whatsoever. I had never read the Bible. I had never been witnessed to. And I found a career that I began to pursue and do very, very well at. One of the things that happened, though, is one evening we had gone out after playing golf, and we were in this nightclub, and one of the guys that I knew introduced me to the owner, and he said, "Oh, you know how to tend bar?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I know how to do that." And ultimately he called me on a Friday night, "We need your help." I went in, and my life from that moment on began to really spiral out of control. And I still remember praying in September of 1975. At the end of the evening, I was miserable, I was broken, I was lonely. And I remember saying, there has to be more to life than this. I'd already experienced a bit of it, but this was taking me, and my life was spiraling out of control. 4 months later, I'm in Tucson. I had just gotten there at 9 in the morning on a Tuesday, and Tuesday night at 9 o'clock, I'm getting saved. I found purpose. And I found, meaning. And for the next 45 years, I would see a lot of that fulfilled. And so the scripture I'd like to focus on is in Jude verse 3, very familiar portion of scripture. It says in the New King James Version, "Beloved, while I was very diligent to write to you concerning our common salvation, I found it necessary." And I find it necessary today in light of the lack of meaning and purpose in young people's lives, to exhort you to contend earnestly for the faith which was once for all delivered to the saints. And so for the last 2,000 years, one generation after another generation has been passing on the glorious gospel of Jesus Christ. The another translation says, I write to you and encourage you to continue your fight for the Christian faith, which was entrusted to God's holy people once for all time. The Living Translation says, urging you to stoutly defend the truth that God gave once for all to his people to keep without change through the years. The Message translation says that you fight with everything you have in you for this faith entrusted to us as a gift to guard and cherish. The New Century Version says, I want to encourage you to fight hard for the faith that was given to the holy people of God once and for all time. And one last, the Weiss translation says, beseeching you to contend with intensity and determination for the faith once for all entrusted into safekeeping of the saints. And so, let me consider with you, one of the challenges today is the lack of intensity and the lack of motivation. I am very fortunate because I grew up without television. I actually grew up without technology. I actually grew up without social media. And you would think that, how in the world did you do that? But there were other things that were transpiring in our lives. I have one brother and 3 sisters. My mother taught us how to cook dinner in addition to breakfast and lunch. My father taught me all aspects of landscape and yard work. I was in the Boy Scouts, and so you learned all of the little tricks and things to do, camping and being outdoors. And so we spent as much time outdoors as we did indoors. When it came to our education, we sat down after dinner and we banged out our homework day in and day out, week after week, year after year. And so we were not driven, we were motivated. We were looking ahead because we understood that there was a purpose, as I mentioned earlier. There were possibilities, there's potential, and it's unfortunate today that oftentimes young people, they don't see any potential. They see no possibilities. I've been very fortunate to be able to address various schools, high schools and middle schools in their career events, and I bring to the table my experiences as a professional engineer and lay it all out, the possibilities of what you could end up doing with an education in science, technology, engineering, and math. It's incredible. And the same thing is true as a Christian and a believer in Jesus Christ, the possibilities, the potential that is out there. And so as a disciple, oftentimes, the standard definition is that he is a learner. And so as a learner or a student, amen, you read, you study, and then you apply. And the problem we see today is it's the same with our education. You sit in a classroom, you have homework, you write essays, you take tests, but there's oftentimes no real application. And I remember going to college, and all of a sudden, along with the coursework, are labs. And in the lab, you would take what you're learning and you would make application. And so you would do experiments, you would write up lab reports, because you're learning how to apply all that you're getting in the classroom. And so a lot of times in discipleship, the application end of everything is missing. And so you have the head learning, scriptures, amen, you've read the Bible, but you don't know how to apply it. And so the thing that the church in Tucson facilitated was the application end of everything. And so my wife and I were on the first drama team. And so there were 3 boys and 3 girls, and we would do dramas every Friday night and Saturday night. We had music scenes both those evenings. And so we had to be prepared. So we worked on skits for the music scene every week, 2 skits. So Thursday night we would practice. Friday we'd come early, go through our lines and perform. And then after that we would talk a little bit about what we're going to do Saturday. And then Saturday we would come early and then perform Saturday night. So we were very adept at applying, amen, and visualizing what was going on in our culture back then in the way of a skit. And some of the skits we did were pretty incredible. I still remember being Snidely Whiplash. He was from the Bullwinkle Show. And I remember taking, I forget who the heroine was, but throwing her on the railroad tracks and her wig went flying across the stage. I mean, there were certain things we did that was just hilarious. But it was a great time, and I learned a whole lot out of it when it came to being a disciple. I still remember starting the ministry there at the University of Arizona, and on a Tuesday, I believe it was, we preached for the very first time, and the police came after 10 minutes and shut us down. And so I had made an appointment with one of the vice presidents over this, and so on Friday we went and preached again. They gave us 45 minutes and then shut us down, and then I had my appointment at 1 o'clock with the vice president, and to make a long story short, he gave us the green light to preach on the campus without any kind of interference or obstruction. The other thing that happened, and I didn't realize this at the time, but the executive secretary to the police chief walked into the chief's office and said, "What do you think you're doing?" And so for the next number of years, we had total liberty on that campus, outreaches and preaching and ministry, and we learned a whole lot out of that. And then after I had been a disciple in the church for 4 years, Pastor Warner put me on staff, and I was responsible for all the follow-up. And so it was a huge challenge because God was moving and ministering in a gracious and a wonderful way, and all kinds of people were getting saved. And we had done the Big 3 in June of 1980, and I think I had 180 convert cards, and it was just an amazing outpouring of the Holy Ghost. So we were busy working with people from all walks of life, and we had, I think, when I left to pioneer in Rochester, I turned over my journal, which had 3,200 names in it, and we had pretty much followed up on a large percentage of those people. And I think I was the 4th pastor to be sent to the East Coast. I was the 11th disciple to be sent out of the Tucson church, and And today we've gone far beyond any of that. And so the thing I appreciate was the opportunity to apply what I was learning in church. And at all levels, whether it was ministry in the church, ministry outside of the church, preaching in the music scene, preaching on the streets, preaching on the university campus, whatever it was, that we had expression and we could apply. And so I think that's what helped me when it came to my secular education. That's what made a huge difference in my discipleship. And so here the Apostle Paul, if we could go back to our text, amen, he's looking down the road. He's trying to encourage Timothy, we've got to get this gospel to the next generation. We have to fight for it. We have to contend. Everything we have to be motivated. There has to be a bit of an intensity because it really is about the next generation. It's about the handoff. When I was on the varsity track team in high school, I ran the mile relay. And oftentimes I would run the third leg or the fourth leg. And the key was always the handoff. The handoff. Had to get the baton in the hand of the runner that was going to follow you. And the same thing is true today. We have to get this gospel into the hands of the next generation. And it's sad that people have come to the conclusion already, oh, I have no purpose, there's no meaning to life, just psh. And that's so far from the truth. One of the reasons I have not retired is because I find myself in settings today where retirement's not an option, because there's the next generation, there's your generation that has to have this gospel in their hands. And you've got to know how to apply, amen, what you read and what you study and what you hear preached about. You've got to know how to put it into action. And so Paul's testimony in 2 Timothy chapter 4 is, I fought the good fight. I finished the race. I kept the faith. He didn't say, I tried to keep the faith. He didn't say, I used to have a lot of faith. He didn't say, I lost my faith somewhere. I kept the faith. And one of the constants in this world that has gone crazy is faith in Jesus Christ. That remains the same from generation to generation to generation. And our goal this evening, amen, is that whoever you may be and wherever you may find yourself, that you would find purpose and meaning. That you wouldn't be part of the 89% of youngsters in Great Britain and in the United Kingdom that see no purpose and no meaning. Especially as a believer in Jesus Christ, that you would find yourself in the center of God's will, and that is, amen, that you and I would contend earnestly for the faith that has been delivered to us, that we would get it to the next generation. And so I was stirred with the coronavirus. I have my grandchildren living with me. And so Penny is in kindergarten. So her last quarter of her first year in school, it's all done online. And the thing that was interesting to me with her teacher is her teacher actually, what I call, took the leash off. And here's a young lady in kindergarten that got 100% of all of her sight words for the year, can write complete sentences and paragraphs. It seems like, to me, like she's doing third grade work, and she's in kindergarten. And I'm amazed at the possibilities as she, amen, moves on in school, if they'll leave the leash off. And a lot of times when it comes to discipleship, we're trying to take the leash off. You don't have to ask. I didn't go to Pastor Warner, oh, Pastor, we have this great idea. We want to do something at the university. Oh, Pastor, we have these ideas for skits and plays. No, we did. He took the leash off. And he let us run with our ideas. And I think, we'd give him updates and various things, but I think the fact that really helped us because we were out in the streets. We were out in the public setting, and we were having favor, and God was moving. And I really believe this evening that I see that a lot of the upheaval in our culture today is young people, they don't see any purpose, any reason. And sometimes that attitude spills over into the church. And so I want to challenge you, beseeching you to contend with intensity and determination for the faith once for all entrusted into the safekeeping of the saints. That you would purpose in your heart, pastor, leader, disciple, young person, that would be your desire. There's a contending. There's a motivation. There's an intensity. I'm going to get this stuff. I'm going to get it into the next generation. They need to experience what we've experienced. And I could go on, but I want to challenge you this evening. I find it very challenging to hear that young people see that, why bother? Let me play another video game. It's like, come on. There is so much more to life, and you have yet to experience it. I've been at this for a long time. A long, long time. And I still feel like there's more to accomplish. There's more to do. There's more to learn. There's more to apply. And we have stepped into a realm in light of the COVID-19 virus I've never been in and never even considered. In fact, oftentimes I would preach against it. And yet here I am. Who would think? And I want to challenge you. There has to be a contending. There has to be an earnestness. There has to be some fight in us to hold on to those sacred truths and the blessing of God in our lives and in our ministries and in our churches. So I encourage you. Paul's testimony was, I fought the good fight. I finished the race. I kept the faith. Stick it out. You'll see things you never thought you would ever see. And I stop there.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Motivation. Meaning and purpose. So as you're talking about this, the last thing you said there really kind of struck me down there. I know you were saying you feel like there's not enough time in the day. You know what I mean? There's no I feel the same way. I got all these things I want to do. I get up. I go through energy drink after energy drink. I'm reading, studying, writing, doing all kinds of stuff. I don't feel like I'm sorry. Sorry for that. I feel like I have enough time in the day for different things. The young people seem like there's nothing to live for.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I think, what's the gist of what we're talking about here is young men, they had nothing to live for. I don't know if they've been told this, or maybe just that it's the screen conditioning that they go through, I guess, where if it's not digital, they can't handle it, or I don't know. What do you think the breakdown is? Where I'm like Generation X. I'm not totally millennial. I have some of the trappings of the millennial, but for the most part, I was raised to in the church and at home even to be self-reliant, to be motivated. What do you want to do? Get it done. Don't sit on your hands. It's not going to be handed to you. All right. It seems like this generation is hard to motivate to do things. Like
Well, when I was in college, every year I had a crisis of faith, put it that way. I wanted to change my major. Every year I looked into changing my major because it's a challenge to follow through on an engineering curriculum. And yet I wanted to be an engineer. Mm-hmm. So I stuck to the same curriculum all 4 years. And there were 80 of us that started out in the mechanical engineering program, and 19 graduated 4 years later. And in light of not finding a job and not being gainfully employed once I finished school, that was just another hurdle I was going to get over. And I did. And was able to return to New York and get a job, very good job. And like I said, it put me on my career path. When I got saved, I had never been a Christian. I had never read the Bible. I had hardly ever been to church. And so this is all new to me. So it all starts out with, going to church services and attending revival services. And you're hearing preaching and you're reading the Word of God. And then you begin to go to prayer meetings and different things. And then the second year I was saved, that's when I was put in the drama team. And so now you can apply what you've learned and what you've heard. And then we also started the university ministry there too. So you're applying, you're putting it into action. And so when I came here, the first, it was a riot because when I went to New York, all I had in the church were men. That's all I had. I couldn't get a dear girl saved for the life of me. And so they used to complain, do they get saved? When will they get saved? And I always chuckled. They'll get saved. They'll come around. They'll see the light one day. But I come here and I couldn't get anyone, couldn't get men to zip up their pants right. It was frustrating. And we had these incredible outreaches on Mount Vernon Avenue when the little mini trucks were very, very popular, and they would cruise up and down. And I'd have an outreach, and the sisters would show up. They didn't think twice. This is great, Pastor. Can we preach? And can we? Yeah. And I couldn't get any of the brothers to come out. And finally, there was a breakthrough. And little by little, they began to come on outreach. And it was an incredible time of fruitfulness. And we're able to apply, amen, the things we had read and the things we'd heard. And subsequently, for the last number of years, that's been the way it happens. We have various ministries in place that people participate in, and they're able to apply themselves. It's so helpful, and it makes a difference.
Yeah, I know when I got saved, the last thing I was thinking of was pastoring, preaching, helping out around the church, putting it as the last thing I was thinking of. I just wanted to go to heaven, you know. I wanted to get things right. I wanted my life to change. I was thinking about my personal future, like me being a father, a husband, having a good career and stuff. And the last thing I was thinking of was the stuff that happens day by day in a church that I'm like now really involved in. Let alone the mission of the gospel, or the going in down to the four corners of the earth, and all these different things. I was thinking about Paul and Timothy. Paul had this highly motivated personality. He was he's just a guy that went and did stuff. Not only does he do stuff, but he always wants to rise to the top category of whatever he's doing. So he's like, I'm the Jew amongst Jews. I'm the most hardcore Pharisee you ever had. But I gave my life to Jesus, and now I'm the most hardcore Christian, and I've gone up and I've written 80% of the New Testament, and I'm the main revelator when it comes to teaching for the church, and so on and so forth. That's how his personality is. So Paul had this faith, and Timothy, we don't hear much about him, but we know that Paul got him and was able to involve him in the ministry, the outreach, the mission of the early church. And so, Timothy was given a thing to do. He's like, this is what you got to do. You got to consecrate yourself. I'm going to take you in, you're going to get circumcised. It's going to feel weird, right? But it's going to help you preach to these people. It's going to give you some street cred there with the Jews. And then this is how you study. This is how you preach. Timothy, be a man. Latch on to this faith. Follow my faith. So Timothy was given something. Like he was given a process. He was given a structure. And Timothy had to just do the thing faithfully. And then later on, it became his. Now he can take it. He could teach this to other men also, to other faithful people also. And so I think maybe I've always been pondering, what's the handoff point? How we get younger folks motivated? How can I be motivated more? I think the younger generation has to take this thing we've got. The way the soundboard works, the way an outreach is set up, the way you handle people in a drama play situation in a ministry. They got to take that and they got to do what we do, and they got to work on it. They got to do that themselves for a little while. It's not their thing. It's not exactly what they were looking for when they came to church. It's not exactly, some people I came here to get a nice Christian girl, but then now they're handing me a vacuum cleaner and telling me to carry speakers. What's going on here? So is it, I have to lead an outreach. I barely like witnessing to people, but God's pushing you into an area that He's called you, and these are the tools you're going to get. So you can do the thing that the old guys are telling you to do, buy into the program, jump through the hoops, and see what's going on. Later on, this is going to become your faith and how you express how you live it. And if you want a purpose, latch on to something that someone's giving you something to do. I've got really kind of a mild, introverted personality, but how come I'm, in the emergency medical field? Who in the heck, when did I decide to go to paramedic school? Why did I want to be a firefighter? Why am I going for these challenges that are above and beyond myself? Why am I going after this, full speed? Why did I decide to be a guy who's a public speaker 3 times a week? What? People have always taken me, it seems like, hey, try this, just try this, keep doing this. This is a goal. This is a place you're going. This is where your life is gonna help you. And I would take that and say, okay, well maybe I'll be an EMT. Okay, maybe I'll go to medic school. Okay, I'll go out and pioneer a church, and it's helped me grow up, become a man of God, learn how to motivate myself and stuff. I think that's a missing factor sometimes is people look, they just want me to be manual labor. I just got to be back here behind the camera. I got to be doing this weirdness. Well, what's the big deal about doing work around the church and all this behind the scenes stuff? How come we got to go door to door and pass out flyers and stuff? What's the big deal here? And I think the real breakdown is maybe this generation doesn't see that, because it's not on Google doesn't mean it doesn't get results. You know what I mean? I don't know. I've been trying to ponder this kind of stuff. I know you're in your 70s. I'm in my 40s, and we're both of us are trying to get down in with the 20-somethings and get them motivated. We got to pass that baton, And I've been pondering this, how can we get down to these younger folks and get them to take on the same yoke of training that we took on. And they say, hey, Pastor, so Eric, you're going to be on the skit team. They need skit team help over there. I mean, is that you and an engineers college guy, were you thinking of being in drama?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the last thing on your mind, probably.
Yeah,
then,
it was.
And then here comes this thing, and our church is known for what? Our cool drums are. We just go off the rocker with them, with the tech
we've
and the
done
sets
some amazing dramas over the years. I mean, incredible.
Yeah.
Very effective, very fruitful.
Yeah, so that's why I'm pondering. What do you think about that?
Well, it's like anything else. When I do career presentations at the schools, I'm always challenging the kids if they want to go beyond. And I'm not putting down anyone that does menial labor or works in a warehouse or anything like that. By no means. But if you want to do something and go beyond, you're going to have to work hard. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times we're not taught how to work hard. We're not taught how to get through the struggles that we face. You can get an education that's a lot easier than science or technology or engineering, and but where's that going to take you? What are you going to end up doing? And I think sometimes, in my own experiences, I ask the kids. They always want to ask me, how much money did I make? And and so that's where their mindset is. And so I'm always challenging them. I said, well, where did I start? You have to know where I started.
Yeah.
And my first job paid me $10 a week, full time. And that's where I started. And so you appreciate what happens after that. Correct. And you appreciate that the hard work will generate a larger income, and that will come one day. But are you in it for the money, or is there something else that you might be in it for? And so I was in the midst of pursuing my graduate. Well, once I got my master's degree, I was working on getting my doctorate. I thought, why stop now? And that's when I went on staff with Pastor Warner. In addition to that, I resigned my position as an engineer at the university. And so that was a huge transition in my life. And then coming here and getting an engineering job, and then in 1988, resigning my position and becoming a full-time pastor was another huge transition. And so those are things that you can reflect upon as far as where you are today, and so it's where you came from, where you've been, what you've done, the things that put you where you are today. And I think it was in one Bible conference, Pastor Joe Campbell preached a message on the thing that separates our fellowship is the consecration of the early pastors, early missionaries, early disciples, when it comes to the things of God. And so where we're at today because of that. And we want to get that into your thinking, into your mind, into your heart. And it's not always easy because it's a different world today. And I understand that things have changed, and we don't necessarily have what we have, but it's interesting where life will take you if you'll stick to the stuff. And it's interesting the input that your life, the impact that your life can have when you're my age and you've been through some things and you're able to share that with young people. And because to share with them, hey, there's a meaning and there's a purpose to life. And you may not know what it is today, but you will. And you can live it. And it's a tragedy if if our generation of 18 to 29-year-olds, if this is the way they feel, well, I don't see any reason. I don't have any meaning or purpose to life. That's a sad commentary in our culture. And if that spills over into the church, we're doomed.
Yeah.
And so we have to fight against that, and we have to constantly contend, with the next generation. Hey, I want to give you something. It's what I have, my faith in Jesus Christ. I want to give that to you. So that in turn, as the years go by, if the Lord would tarry, you could pass that on to that following generation.
Right. Yeah, that's the challenge. You said something about money and being motivated. Find a lot of people nowadays, they want a paycheck, but just not the job. I understand, I get it. We all want to get paid well reimbursed and everything. What keeps people say money's not your motivation? You're a pioneer pastor. You're a missionary. I think Dwayne has a question here in the chat. He's not really talking about money, but he's saying, any advice to those who struggle with staying the course? Meaning at times when there are setbacks, life and ministry often will demotivate you. I think he's asking for a friend of his.
Well, I've been at this for 35 years here in Southern California, of all places. And there have been definite ups, and there have been definite downs, and things have gone sideways and various other things. But I've always stayed the course, and by the grace of God. And there is definitely, I'm telling you, there are open doors that I have today that I would never have imagined, especially in our schools and various other things. And so you don't stop now. Keep going, keep plugging away, and watch what transpires. And, and right now, we're in the thick of something here in the United States with this virus, and then you have this political upheaval, and you have a long list of things going on that people are like, what next? And it's got people thinking, but there's a definite sense of uncertainty today that I don't know that I've even experienced over all the years that I've been doing what I do. And you're just not certain on what tomorrow holds. And in some ways that's not good, but in other ways that's very good. Because then you're going to have to really trust in God. And you're really going to have to cast your cares and your concerns upon Him.
Yeah. So I just want to say, personally for myself, just being a paramedic and having pastored, there's always a reason why you get into it. There's always a reason, say for emergency medical services. They want to save lives, they want to help people. They're aiming at the fire department, they're aiming at the police department. So they get into this for these reasons. Me, I just wanted to see blood and guts, gore, some dead bodies. And so there's always a reason everybody gets into it. Along the lines, you're going to have to find out a reason to stay in it.
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to have to find what motivates you to stay where you're at. And find that reason. You're going to have to find that reason a lot. Things are going to happen. Like upheavals, death in the family, your main disciple takes off, or, different things happen. And so you can't have your rest your hopes on just this one picture, this one outcome that you have. So I, throughout the years, have had to find a reason to stick with it, to stay saved, to just go for it. I know all the theology. I know this, that, and the other thing. But I think what most of us maybe we're talking about here is that emotional. I don't know the word for it. It's at the tip of my tongue. Endurance, emotional endurance, I guess you could say.
Yeah, good point.
To get jobs. And just as a physical example, there's this guy. he was a captain, a fire captain or something, and he got injured during overhaul. Everyone wants to put out the fire, but then there's like 2 hours afterwards when you got to do all this manual labor, pulling stuff out of the house and making sure the fire's gone. So he had a wall collapse on, broke his neck during this overhaul era. But so he went back and he's a teacher now. But he came into the classroom when I was in the fire academy to get out your pen, and I want you to write this word in your textbook and in your notebook or whatever you're going to take with you throughout this academy. He said it's the word endurance.
Yeah.
So write this down, okay? Because strength is good, but it only lasts so long, right? Endurance is strength over time. And so just think about when you're working on overhaul or you're doing your rolling hose, you're doing something that's difficult. It's more about the marathon than it is about the sprint, you know. And find a way to finish. Not really to be number one, you know. But I've always taken that to be like I can apply that in every areas of my life. It's just not just physical endurance, but endurance, emotional endurance, mental endurance. So when you first start working out, you're all trying to push 300 on the bench or whatever. Now, you know, if I ever get to work out, it's about combating my urge to quit. It's doing something for a time and trying to mentally get myself past these blocks where you just want to quit and stop. That's been the challenge, you know, as you get older for Jesus. I mean, Pastor, you've done this for 40 years.
45.
45 years. You've been saved long. You must have got saved right after I was born. So you've been doing this a long time, and I think I know one thing. This man sitting across from me, he knows how to roll with the punches. I mean, when the downturn comes, he just doesn't throw his hands up in the air and go, these people. So it takes some. It takes that Bruce Lee, you know, become like water, roll with the punches, you know, go with the flow, and that's just my little insight for you. But so I've only been doing this 25 years, looking at 45 years there. So, you know, stick with stuff, right? Find your new motivation for this year. I know a lot of like Tucson, they have their theme every year, right? What's that for? That's to motivate people. Okay, this is what we're working on this year. Okay, this is how it's going. This year is our theme. The preaching is going to be around this. The ministry is going to be around this. That's to be the picture on the conference flyer. We're motivating ourselves. We're giving ourselves a fresh vision every year. And so don't just take it like I started the ministry or I just got saved. And there you go. That's going to be my one vision. I just wanted to be a good father when I got saved. That was my thing. I actually didn't even care about being a husband. I just want to be a good father, and so but that's not my motivation anymore. To live for Jesus, you know. And I want to reach the finish line. I'm going to do it excellently. I'm going to try and do it as well as I can. I'm going to try to take and drag as many people with me as I can, and that's what motivates me. So, that being said, if you're sitting out there, you wanted to throw a question up in the chat, please do. You've got the man right here. I'll answer your questions for you. I got Dwayne in the chat over here. Let me see. We got some guys. All right. Just so you know who's listening on. Got your Taiwanese faction here. Of course, the disciples from our church. Got Dwayne. Got Eric Long. He's showing up now. He's starting to get addicted to the old Monday night discipleship here. That's good. And all the typical wrenches here. So, Radical Jake. Man, Jake's starting to show up, these young guys. So,
Good.
So pop a question in that chat, folks. We're here for you. It's been a pretty good stream so far. And so we're just going to keep on discussing this topic. So, I had some other things. Did you know that I also played Snidely Whiplash in a skit? I had to. And I got kind of yelled at because I was wearing high top tennis shoes while doing it. So, but remember those days. The main line was by rubbing your mustache. Remember that? I also threw some poor lady on a train track. Yeah, but that's how we did things back in the day, man. We had creative skits.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now that's something else too. I wasn't looking to be an actor, or a playwright, but these are some of the things that were given to me from other older men of God or yourself when challenging us to do different things in the skit team. I remember all it took was Pastor Strutz to walk in there to the skit team and go, "Hey, you guys should do a boxing match skit. Yeah, you can call it the match, and then okay." Man, we rolled with it, So that's what I guess I kind of see missing in some people. It's like, "Hey, you guys should do this." That's all they want. It's just it never ends. I just got done sweeping, the back of the church. Now we have to put together this play. It's just this is what I've noticed. Pretty much everywhere we go. Just that generation that does not want. That thinks it's an insult that you ask them to do something different. Okay, got another question in the chat from Ron. It's quite common for young people to come into church who have come into our church from broken homes and fatherless homes, etc. What advice would you for dealing with the fatherless? That seems like
that is an issue, and it's not insurmountable, and but you do have some things you have to work through and work out. Not having a dad in the home or a dad that's not involved. And so my father was very involved in our upbringing, and I do think he was a definite help. He spent 8 years in night school going to college to get his degree in organic chemistry. And so he taught us, basically what I said tonight, hard work and stick to it and persevere and endure, et cetera, et cetera. And so young people, it probably, without fathers, there's more, it takes more time, more effort. And you have to be gentle and kind and considerate and encouraging and a long list. We are dealing with young people from broken homes, and that may be part of the issue in Great Britain with 89% commenting that they see no purpose and no meaning to life. When we grew up, family, raising children, that brought great dignity and great meaning. Career and job, didn't matter what it was, that brought great value and blessing, and the church was a big part of American culture. Well, that's all changed today. It's all been turned upside down. And so some of what we're doing, we're learning as we go. There's no textbook to any of this. And we are very, very grateful for those who do respond and who do rise up and do fit in and are able to get through the setbacks, the difficulties, the challenges of home and family, whatever shape that might be in.
Yeah. Maybe that's something also caused by social media, is this big shift in values that you talked about.
Yeah.
Like you said, little simple things used to give people that sense of value, that self-worth, Like a mother could look at her kids and be like, I'm a mother, and these are my kids, and I feel now driven and motivated to raise, to care for, to love them. Husband look at his wife and say, it's my job to provide that spiritual covering, to do all I can. And so, but now, right, the values are a little different. So now it's like, well, I'm not getting enough hearts on Instagram with the pictures that I put up. That's not for me, or the values have shifted. Now, instead of looking at your children and thinking, what a joy, what a blessing, I need to raise them up, you do this. Now you're seeing like, well, I really could get somewhere if it wasn't for them. Like your only purpose in life is to generate income, and your only purpose is to have some major micro celebrity on the internet somehow, sharing the big pie. I think that's something people ought to consider.
Well, I think part of the problem is that's all you see all the time, day in and day out, and so you think that there's that's what life's all about, and then second of all, people my age are never challenging or commenting or bringing their testimony into the equation. So young people have no idea. What is it like to be 60, 70, 80 years old? It's dull and boring and, a long list of, so that's how they think. Well, my father, my grandfather, my uncle, whatever the case may be. And so in being saved, we're very fortunate because it plays out in the latter years of your life. It's unbelievable. And once people retire, oftentimes that's a death sentence, and their longevity after that is minimized. When you have a purpose and you have meaning and there's substance to your life, who knows how long you'll live. And men, the average age for men today is 78 or 79, and so a lot of times that's very limited because you can live to be 90, 100 years old and still be very, very successful and very involved and very instrumental in the lives of young people. And I think when you separate yourself from the next generation, you're doing harm both to yourself and to them. They need to hear what got old people where they're at. Yeah. And especially in the church.
Yeah, there's a statistic out there that after a person in the fire service, after their 30-year stint, they retire and their average, they're dead within 4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
You go from complaining, everyone's calling me all the time, all these people, blah, blah, blah. And then you retire and, there's not that purpose anymore.
Yeah.
I've talked to a couple retired firefighters to keep themselves busy. They're taking jobs that are paying like $18 an hour, $12 an hour, just doing weird stuff, driving around a racetrack, putting down fire extinguishers because at least it's a purpose. It's something to do.
Yeah.
And they've got their big retirement from the fire, but they still feel like they got to get up and do something.
Yeah.
And the NASCAR, those guys just turn on. You can just see it. All these retired guys, there's a switch that's flipped.
Yeah. And
they're just back to their old intensity. And one guy told me he doesn't miss the work, but he misses the camaraderie, and he misses the purpose behind what he was involved in. So that's you got to find something to motivate you.
That's right.
Get up and going, because once you might get mad about your job, or you might get mad about your ministry, the sometimes drudgery of week in, week out, but when it's gone, you can be like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
Now you don't have your targeting system doesn't have a target to lock on.
Yeah.
At least with your job, you have something to look forward to all the time.
Yeah.
Something to prepare for, something to complain about. If you don't have that, then what are you going to complain about? You have to find different things. You're going to go watching political TV all day long and get mad and angry and stuff, and it's not going to be a good time. It's fun.
No, not at all.
Yeah, so Tony made a comment here, like Elijah, how do we successfully pass on the spiritual aspect of discipleship to the next generation?
Well, it'd be nice if there was a formula, but there isn't. Disciples are custom made. It's just like fine furniture. It's like these race cars. It's custom, and so each individual disciple. There are various aspects. I don't think I've done the same with the men in our church. I don't. It's not a cookie cutter production operation. It's handcrafted, custom work, and it varies as far as the time involved and the intensity and long list of things.
Yeah, and I feel like you've made like allowances for people's personalities, like their talents, their giftings, their ability to deal with certain things. I mean, I know my personality is one way. Mike Gomez is personality is a different way. Ron Tucci's something else. So we've all just kind of like all looked to you for our training, in our spiritual health. But all of us have totally different, radically different personalities.
Yeah.
And so I think it's good. I like being compared to custom furniture.
The thing that helped
lazy
me,
boy chair.
I think, was in Tucson because one of the things we did is we followed up on new converts, and so when Paul Campo was door director, I did a whole lot of. I got real involved in follow up with him, and then eventually I was put on staff, and that was my number one assignment, was to follow up on new converts. And so in dealing with people from all walks of life and all kinds of characters, you gain some insight in dealing with people, and then having been around a long time, you see how things work out and how things work through. And it may not look good right today, but watch out. Down the road, things may really come together.
Yeah, I think that was my big lesson, pioneering in Pomona, is that you can't just approach everybody the same.
Yeah.
Follow different people. I think of the cross section of folks that were in my church, just a little handful of 15, 20 people. And his varied personalities. And I think back towards the end, I couldn't approach them all the same,
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't talk to Abraham or Johnny or Clara or any of these people, or Denise or whoever would come in through the door. Crazy Pete, all his bodybuilder friends. Couldn't talk to them the same way as everybody else, you know. Right. My own son's growing up in the church too. Can't. Each one of my children has got this vastly different personality. I mean, you know this, having Heidi and Sally under the same roof, and they're just different.
Yep.
And if you think it's a cookie cutter kind of a thing, you're missing out so much more. What it could be. So that's a part of the generational pass on, is recognizing people's strengths and weaknesses and everything.
Yeah, you have to be very attentive and very observant. And that really helps.
Right. That's totally great advice. Especially, I figure in Tucson, you're dealing with like all these people. Like there's 5-6 times more than what most churches deal with, and so you got to have some kind of leeway for things.
You had to.
You can't just. This isn't just a preacher factory. We're doing this way. Here's your workbook. Get up and go. Just in our church, there's all kinds of very different styles of intensity. When guys get up there and preach, I've been watching them. Mike could get up, then he's this way, and Wayne is this way. Brandon is this way. You're you preach like you preach, and it's just a good variety. But all these have come to fruition, underneath just one, in one church and one ministry. I think this is the best way to do it. I think one of Tony might be talking about maybe the prayer, the reading of the Bible, the witnessing, that kind of stuff for the next generation, passing that on to. Remember we got saved. That's all we had was music night and outreach. Music night, outreach, some youth rallies, different things, and then that was it. So when you go out to minister or you get to Pioneer Church, there's not that.
Right.
There's not all these things, these programs and ministries going on. You have to generate them yourself. So I think pioneering out here on the front, he probably was looking for some.
It's a different world today. And, we had the cruising up and down Mount Vernon. We had all the events at the Orange Show. We had quite a venue, and then that's all dried up. And so, it's been very, very challenging to find anything like what we used to have.
Can't even find a real gangster in Colton anymore.
No.
There's like no cholos. There's no places.
Because they're all in prison or dead.
They should have came to church. Now I think a lot of people's stuff is indoors, or indoors or hidden.
It's not anywhere near what it used to be, but it doesn't mean that the response level does. People are still open, still listening, still looking, and even more so today. They're looking for some answers because they find none anywhere else.
Mm-hmm. They sure are. All right, so any other questions in that chat going on here? All right. So what did you say the name of your lesson was today? 'Cause I don't know if I got.
Contend earnestly.
Okay, this is like the beginnings. I totally got the title wrong.
Whatever.
Contend. Oh, maybe I said that. All right, I should have just texted you to make sure. But this is ministry right here, folks. Issues, apps. But that's great. Let's see. Big shift in values, innovation. Yeah, so when I got saved, there was at least this huge motivation. Did I click the wrong thing? Yes. No, I didn't. Okay. When I got saved, there was this huge motivation. It seemed like everybody in the church was just motivated. They were doing something. Mm-hmm. They were going full speed ahead. And it was all about getting people saved. It seemed like to me, it was like, how could you debate with people, or could you compel people to come to the supper? You know what I mean? It was like, we have to get people, we have to be right, we have to know what we're talking about, we have to. So when I got saved, I couldn't think of it. Before I got saved, I couldn't think of nothing. Like, what's my life going to be like? Am I going to be this office guy, cheat on my secretary like you see on the TV all the time? And am I going to have any kids? Where are we going to live? It was just like, what's going to happen? Not really like, what can I do?
Yeah.
But when I got saved, it was like, this is what you can do because you're filled with the Holy Ghost. You're saved, you're living for Jesus, and this is what you can do if you apply this, if you put this into practice, if you go, if you contend, if you have this motivation, you have this purpose, this glorious purpose, this constant that's always driving you. I think we try and instill that in the younger generation, like you said, like you were saying, not just tell them about the gospel, what it can do, but to give them opportunities, to live that out. Dwayne would like us to speak on possibly the subject of transitioning from youth to adulthood. I guess physically, or like turning 18. But I'm going through that right now. I've got an 18-year-old in my house. He's legally an adult, but we're also working on grown-up type stuff like responsibility, getting a job, doing work, etc. I'll let you know in a couple years when I think I've got it done. Yeah. But what's weird is like even like the Pellerin boys, is they go away and they're these little guys, right? They're these little dudes running around with swords and stuff, and air drumming. And I taught Justin some stuff on the drums. He was a young guy. They come back, and then there's like these rock stars, these like older guys, And my wife said this before, and she saw Jeremy at boot camp, running around and just having a good time. And she's like, that's the first time I've seen him as a kid, I mean, really, he's 16. He was at the time, Really, he's 16. You never really see Jeremy as like this, this kid. But he always seems like this grown-up, this guy who's contemplating his future, blah blah blah. So there's something that changes in those guys, maybe just being out, being a missionary, having some freedom, making some decisions themselves. Those guys have gone through some crazy, complex, traumatic, and medical things as well. Over in Taiwan, and they got hurt. Jeremy had his eye busted open, and Justin got in that car accident. These little things that help you. I don't know if they help you grow up, but when you go through some rough things and you come through it together, you kind of grow up a little bit at each time. People that don't go through hard things don't grow up very fast. I mean, maybe as parents we've cushioned the ride a little too much. We've heard it. My sister sent me this meme. This huge jacked wolf dog standing there all buff, and it's like, oh, kids in the 90s. Hey mom, I crashed my bike, I scraped my knee, I drank out of the faucet water. We're gonna go upstairs and we're gonna do this thing, that other thing. And like they showed another dog, a little Shiba Inu, like bento. It's like, Mom, the iPad went out of my the battery of my iPad's dead. I think I'm depressed now. So I think some of the things that have helped people mature, some really rough trials they've gone through.
Yeah.
And if you've leaned on people, if you've been leaned on during these times, it helps you grow. Every parent, especially me right now. I mean, you probably were too back when they were in that age. Are they going to be a failure to launch? Or am I going to be able to wave at them and come back when you have grandkids for me, right? But so it's a concern for everybody, and I'll let you know when I've got it mastered. Isaac has sent us I'm crying so much I'm laughing so much I'm crying emoji. So Yeah. But how about you, Pastor? When did you consider your daughters adults?
It's hard to say. Personally,
like when they moved out?
No, both of them grew up differently. Like you mentioned, different personality, different goals, and one went to public school, one was homeschooled, and it's kind of, one was very I could talk to about politics and all kinds of stuff. The other one, she would come home and say, yeah, the drug dogs were at school today. I mean, that was the highlight of the day. Nothing about her education or anything. So it's it was different with both of them, and I'm sure the maturity level was different.
Yeah.
And different things. You go through different things with each of your kids. And
Heidi was basically an adult when she was 8, right?
Yeah. And
very
sometimes
mature.
that's the way it is with your oldest child is, because they have the responsibility of the younger brothers and sisters. And so it's just very interesting raising children. And on one hand, it can be very rewarding, and on the other hand, it can be heartbreak too. So,
yeah, it can be. I guess at some point you lose total control.
Yeah.
You got the iron fist on them when they're little.
Yeah, but buckle up, because raising children will be the challenge of a lifetime.
Yeah. So Anything else going on? So what we're going to do is we're going to start winding this down. We're going to keep the chat open for a few more minutes. If anyone has any questions, they want to pop in, hit up there, ask Pastor Strutz whatever you want. You can talk to me anytime you want. Here's the man. Go ahead and ask questions if you have things. If not, don't forget to head over to enlistedtoendure.org. Get inspired to go to boot camp next year. So, pick my dog from the airport. All right, Mike. Say hi to Felicia for us. Pretty sure that's you picking up. Make sure you go to the E2E YouTube webpage. Check out some of the testimonies. And if you've been to boot camp as a boot counselor or any other capacity, we would send Pastor Gabe Ruby in Tucson a quick video testimony under 2 minutes, and it'll be up there on their website so that people can go there and be inspired. This is boot camp week. We can't be there, but we can try to maintain or stir up that same spirit. I caught myself spacing out and daydreaming about boot camp songs and playing them live. So, yeah, it's gonna be a good time. It'll be a good time. We wanted to do a boot camp service, but then here we are stuck outside again in the with the cajon and acoustic guitars. So that's not gonna work. But maybe one day we'll do some cool boot camp songs. So how does that sound to you, Pastor? Boot camp
Sounds
service?
great.
Great.
Yeah.
We can manage it together.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of like a concert. There you go, Tony. Tony wants to know, who is your favorite disciple? He won't say, but we all know it's John. We all know it's not. John's my favorite disciple. I mean, jeez. So who else? What else? All right. We just got people making kind of snide comments here. So
Who was it that brought coffee to the prayer meeting in the morning?
Oh man,
That's the favorite.
yeah, I know. Huh? Remember, Dwayne was he was contending for that position when he was the pastor's coffee every day. Was it 2 or 3 o'clock?
Yeah, right.
Hey, Dwayne, he wants you to know you're still his favorite, brother. You're still up there. You're still up there. Okay, there's another one here. Being raised in church, we often become used to having fellow peers being raised up with us. Would your advice be to be a better brother and friend to those who are new and not new in the church? This is actually from Andrew Tucci.
Oh, Andrew. Wow.
Your advice for being a better brother and friend to those new and not new in the church. That's a different sermon, right?
Yeah. I'm not sure how to answer that. I just work at it.
Yeah.
And
Read the parable of the lost son and don't do that. Okay? I bought coffee for you. Yes, Dwayne. Yes, you did. You took me with you a lot, too, when I was a new guy. I think he was trying to hand that ministry off to me eventually. But
okay.
that's where the breakdown was. It was me. I was the breakdown on that one. Andrew, that question has the right heart behind it. Let me tell you what. Too bad. Too much, I think, what we see in the church is competition. And people are looking for the other brother to fail so they can be, raised up and stuff. So maybe it was in your Marine boot camp or whatever, like it would have been in my football years or my fire academy, but you gotta just tow some people across the finish line and be that squad leader, that supports others and does all you can for them. I mean, you gotta be able to tell people when they're wrong. You gotta be able to bring them up beside you and get them rolling. It's a thing. You're the little brother of the family, right? So now God's gonna give you a bunch of little brothers to help out. Some big brothers with some problems, and so that's just being the church. Like I say, is that question comes from a right heart. So keep that in mind, that you're there to be the guy to get other people across the line. All right. All right. Anyone else here? He says, Jason, you were great company. Yes. Yeah, we used to remember Blue Mountain Coffee up in Terrace.
Yeah.
That was like a every service thing. He would pull me out of prayer. I'd be up praying. Come on. They're playing. Gotta get coffee. Oh, Tony says dark roast is coming up this Sunday. Right, so that's how you do it, Tony. That's how you do it. You know, in the fire service, they call coffee the great social lubricant. Helps you get along with people who you would have a lot of friction with otherwise. That's great. All right, gents, thanks for coming out.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pastor, for doing this. We appreciate you very much. This is people are wanting to come out here. What you said, we had like 20-something folks hit the concurrent viewers. We'll get the stats later.
Okay.
Eternity will
It's
tell.
fine. It's fine.
That's when to tell. But you know, we'll get a lot more views as we go on. Next week, I do have Brother Wes Pinnick from Long Beach. Talked to him today. He's down for it. He's made for this kind of stuff. We're gonna have a good time. We're gonna keep on going with this. God's using us to encourage, help, strengthen people. And thank you for putting out here. We will talk to you just in time.
Okay.
So,
You done?
yeah, we're good. Have a good day, people. Here's the outro video. Talk to you later.
Bye.